Am I live on Facebook? Can you see on your computer? Hey everybody. I don't know if anybody's on here now. All right, everybody, I'm gonna play chess while answering any questions, or maybe I'll tell a story.
Learning many skills opens doors, but chess is a really interesting example.
One time, I stayed at this job because it was right next to a homeless shelter, and I thought it'd be easier for me to meet women if I was working next to a homeless shelter.
I didn't have a good GPA in high school, and I cut school because I played chess all the time.
Ugh, come on.
But I got into college because my interviewer was a lower ranking chess player than me.
No. No.
Then, going to grad school, just so happens the grad school is making the best chess computer in the world. So I got into grad school because of that.
Another time, I had to quit a job because it was hard to find a bathroom, and I don't like potentially risking going to the bathroom next to my boss. It seems really disgusting.
So I wanted to get a job at HBO. So I applied, got me the interview. I bombed the interview in every way. I couldn't answer any of their questions about computers. So I left and I went to Bryant Park. And Bryant Park, they had the chess players sitting at tables. I sat down and I beat him. And I realized my potential boss's boss was watching the game. And he said to me, I never saw anybody beat that guy. My potential boss's boss, he turned out to be a chess player who ranked lower than me. A week later, he offered me a job for twice what I was making at my job in Pittsburgh. It's really helped me in every area of life.
Who's your current mentor? Do you have a mentor now?
I think it's important to have virtual mentors. Here's really important to read a lot. Like, when you read, you absorb the entire life of another human being. And that's very valuable. If you don't read, you're just living your own life and you're basing all your decisions on your own experiences. But I could tell you, if you do what you've always did, you're gonna get what you've always gotten.
The only area where I always daydreamed since I was 17 years old that it would help me, I always daydreamed that I would date a woman whose father was really into chess, and then I would beat her father at chess. But that has never actually happened, unfortunately.
Boom.
I know how to fight. It was out of necessity, like I didn't want to fight. The whole system was what Bruce Lee talked about, do the most amount of damage with the least amount of effort and the least amount of damage done to yourself.
Frank Shamrock, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
You kind of started the sport of MMA.
I took a very scholastic and a very, street survival approach to learning martial arts.
And one of the arts that you did study and train for in order to become this all-around, mixed martial arts or ultimate fighting champion was Jeet Kune Do, which was Bruce Lee's art form.
Bruce didn't have to fight. And what he found out in the basis of Jeet Kune Do is use whatever works.
This is the world of Bruce Lee.
Like for you, Bruce Lee was a virtual mentor.
I just took from him the philosophies because the technical parts, we had already progressed further. My base was whatever was needed to win.
But now consists of Bruce Lee's rare personal belongings.
The reality is we all have opportunities in front of us. I've started from dead zero with the IRS after me, with everybody after me, with no opportunities in front of me, and I was able to rebuild careers and different paths several times. But the key thing is, when you find a new thing that you're obsessed with, that you want to succeed at, how do you learn? And one thing we talked about earlier was dividing something up into micro skills. But there's a very important concept taught to me by Frank Shamrock, plus, minus, equal.
You had written about this concept of learning, which you called plus, minus, equal. Am I correct in saying that that was a message of yours?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I've totally stolen that and
I love it. Please
not
use
giving you
it.
credit at all. But now I'm giving you credit for it completely.
All right.
Frank Shamrock described to me the concept that he called plus minus equals, which is how he learned to be the best fighter of all time, which is find your plus, which is your mentors, your teachers, your virtual mentors.
And then the minus, and now you run all these training schools and stuff. Minus, I think, helps you solidify what you're learning, because if you can't explain it and teach it, you probably didn't really learn it so well.
Neil deGrasse Tyson's a great example of this. Who's his minus? Well, the 13 million Twitter followers he has who watch, who used to watch the Cosmos TV show that he hosted, who listen to his podcast, who read his books. He's able to explain to such a point that the layman understands. And so that shows a true knowledge and understanding and a unique vision of what he's trying to say. Then there's the equals. So equals are people who are at roughly the same level as you at what you're trying to reinvent yourself in and what you're trying to learn, and they're striving just as hard as you, and maybe someone's striving harder, but you're all in there together. You're in the trenches together. And having your minus is just as important as having your plus and your equals, if not more important. And, you gonna stand up in New York? So, that's the basic concept of plus, minus, equals.
Okay, so what are we drinking?
This is a brave shot. We can
Brave
all use
shot.
bravery. And
This is what you call, like, some people go to war and call it bravery. For you, this is bravery.
well, this is supposed to make me braver.
Okay.
How do you find a mentor? I mean, I've been blessed to be interested in many things, maybe too many. I'm a little bit of a dilettante. So, one is you have to educate yourself and put in the time. So 100 to 200 books is always going to be your first mentor, and a little bit of experience.
Books and text still have a magical place in our minds. I want people to read a book like Tribe of Mentors and be able to refer to it for 10 plus years. That's the goal. The advice and the recommendations, all of that is timeless. It can be used at any time. So for me, the podcast is how I explore, and the books are how I record.
In some cases, when you want to learn, let's say, a musical instrument, you can't always get a mentor like the lead guitarist of your favorite band, but you can go to the local guitar store and pay for lessons. That could be your first mentor.
Gary Kasparov has reluctantly agreed to my begging to play a game of chess, playing the King's Indian Defense.
When I was studying chess as a kid, I paid for lessons from the US champion, and that was a worthwhile investment for me.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. So this can't be prevented.
When I was studying computer science as an undergraduate, I signed up for a graduate level course that was way beyond me. It was super hard. I had to work all the time just for this one course. I was taking lots of notes because I didn't know anything. And so my professor at one point said to the whole class, if anyone's taking a lot of notes, please see me. Maybe we'll write a book together. I want to make a book out of the notes for this class. So I immediately, that's the end, I immediately said, I have it all organized. This could be your book. I'll write the book for you. Just speak a lot in class and I'll take all the notes and then we'll edit it into a book. That person became my mentor in computer science and helped me get into graduate school, helped me find research projects. We wrote an academic paper together, which we published in the main conference on artificial intelligence in the world. I had to fly to West Germany as a 20-year-old and give a speech about it, and I provided value. If I just went up to him and said, hey, I don't know anything and I'm an undergrad and I'm not as smart as all the other students in your class, I am the least intelligent person in your class, which was true, he would not have responding to me. 1, 2, 3. This way you'll remember. You know, more recently with comedy, I'm blessed to have a podcast, so I could just take all the best comedians in the world and invite them to my podcast. 20 say yes or 10 say yes, and I can ask them any question I want to ask them. I go up on stage up to 3 to 5 times a week.
We have a great show tonight. I'm going to be your MC.
So I have questions. I did something wrong. I don't understand what I did wrong, and I'll ask this great comedian who just released a Netflix special, this is what happened to me. I'll say it on my podcast. This is what happened to me. He's on my podcast, so he has to answer. People are usually not so forthright giving the secrets of their trade, but if they're on a podcast, often they are. So podcast has been a great way for me to find mentors. I'm such a fanboy for all these people that I feel like a little kid. I've got my waiter's pad all set to take notes from everything I've learned, and now we're going to see Neil deGrasse Tyson, who runs the Hayden Planetarium, and he just wrote a book, Accessory to War, and it's an amazing book. It's the whole history for thousands of years of the interlinking between the study of astrophysics and the military, which is, of course, incredibly important. One hasn't been funded without the other. It's not that I'm just interested in getting a list of facts and his knowledge about this. I want to learn, how did this guy get such a great job? Like, I was interested in space, he was interested in space, and yet he's the one who gets to talk about it and think about it all day long and run the Hayden Planetarium, the funnest museum in the world. I mean, nobody takes the straight path. Like, an obvious example is, think about the path to the presidency. You think, oh, you should be a mayor, then a congressman, or a mayor, then a state assemblyman, then a congressman, then a senator, then a vice president, then a president. That seems like the traditional path to the presidency, and maybe the only one who ever took that path in history was Lyndon B. Johnson. You always think you need the traditional path, and I use the presidency as an example, but you can use any industry as an example. The traditional path is actually to be untraditional, and that's what they don't really tell people who are passionate and obsessed with things, is that you need to figure out how to blaze your own unique path to get the dreams and goals you always wanted.
If the world ends, it's not going to be because scientists ended the world. It's going to be because the rest of us did not become the shepherds of civilization that we needed to be in the face of the power that science brings to the table. As a physicist, you analyze what people are saying. You cut the fat and the BS, and you say, this is what they actually mean, and here's why, because the laws of physics are operating in the same room, and they apply to everyone equally. It's a fundamental part of how you think, the rewiring of your brain. Let's say you and I are both fighting over an orange grove, territorially, all right?
You're telling them about our fight yesterday, but go ahead.
So we're fighting with orange grove. I want the orange. No, you want the orange. I want the orange. No, you want the oranges. So let's go to battle. A good diplomat should do this, but if you're a diplomat with physics background, you would certainly do this, okay? You would say, what do you want to do with the orange? And you'll say, well, I want to make juice out of it because I like orange juice. What do you want to do with it? Oh, I want the oils from the orange skins so I can make orange essence for these products that I have in mind. Oh my gosh, we don't even want the same thing. You want the juice and I want the skin. So now you create a system where we both get what we want.
So you're breaking down a problem into its actual components.
Correct. That's an example of probing something to its fundamental bits, okay? What's fundamentally behind this, and why do you want to do it? And analyze it. Bring out the information, analyze the information. Don't just say, I want it. No, you want it. No, I want it. Well, we have to kill each other, and whoever kills the most people wins.
What sets you apart, let's say, from all the other astrophysicists in the world is that you're a great and wonderful communicator.
My field, I think, our subject matter. First, the vocabulary is quite transparent. Beginning of space-time, matter, universe, Big Bang. That's the official name for it. Region of space you fall in and don't come out, and light doesn't. Black hole. Okay? That's the official name for it. There are galaxies that have spiral shapes in the sky. Those are called spiral galaxies. Jupiter has a red spot on its surface. It's called Jupiter's red spot, right? So what that means is when we speak at all, the words are not a barrier. We can focus on the idea that we're trying to communicate. Whereas if you're speaking with a biologist, what's the most important molecule in the human body? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Oh, I have to abbreviate it, DNA. Well, what is that? Now I have to ask what the word means. If you're talking to people who are not already science interested, people who don't know they like science, are they going to tune in? No. Are they going to listen to Science Friday on NPR? No.
But everyone's seen Star Wars as an example.
Exactly.
It's like science is intersects our culture in every way.
Exactly. So there's a pop culture scaffold that everyone carries with them. They know what Star Wars is, even if they're not a fan of it. They've heard of Star Trek. They know other pop culture things. They've heard of Beyonce. They know who Oprah Winfrey is. They know who Donald Trump is. They know things that are pop culture. And this is where the rubber hits the road. If I'm speaking to you and you have no other science fluency, but you're pop culture fluent, I will find ways that science has touched the pop culture things you're interested in. If you want to say there's a difference, that I invest time and energy in that.
And I think that's a formula that could probably used in many industries is over prepare for who you're about to meet. Look at how your message or vision translates to other media and how you would do it either artistically or through communication or otherwise. And I think there's something to be said for the fact that you've been studying this since you were 9 years old. So you can kind of talk about it on a variety. Like when Star Wars came out, you were probably a teenager and you're probably in your head thinking, oh, here's the physics of that, here's the physics of this. So you were ready.
There was no physics in Star Wars.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think most people use every self-help quote as a money quote. When in fact, money is a byproduct of just improving yourself. I'll give you an example that has nothing to do with money. Mike Massimino, he's the astronaut who ultimately fixed the Hubble Space Telescope.
Yeah, by the time I was 8 or 9, I realized that the space program was very interesting and the astronauts were the coolest people around. I just saw them as superheroes.
So you remember the Hubble Space Telescope was broken. They needed to send an astronaut up to fix it. So he always, his whole life, he wanted to be in NASA. He applied, he didn't get in. He applied, he didn't get in. He applied, his eyesight wasn't good enough, he didn't get in.
You know, growing up where I grew up, it was okay to dream when you're a little kid, but as you got older, I felt like, nah, that can't happen to me. You know, it's impossible. I couldn't be as cool as Neil Armstrong. And they're superheroes, and I'm just a little kid.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
So he was like, okay, this is still my passion, this is still my obsession. I didn't get into NASA, I can't be an astronaut, but I'll go get a PhD from MIT in robotics.
And you failed the first time you tried to qualify for the PhD. Now, here's the difference between, one of many differences between you and me, for instance. I failed also my first time trying to get a PhD, yes, and I left graduate school.
You did?
I did. You went back and kept going, and then you got it. Like you again, your professor even told you to drop out, and you got it.
He was trying to be merciful. With the astronaut job, I was willing to do almost anything that I would have to do. I certainly was not going to give up.
Who you're with, you know, makes a definite difference. So he didn't even get there through his PhD. He moved down to Houston and literally selected the suburb, the neighborhood, the blocks where other astronauts who worked for NASA lived there.
I had made friends with astronauts at this point. I was working at the Johnson Space Center.
They were all your neighbors.
And a lot of my neighbors, kids the same age, I got to know them, at church or around the neighborhood or at work or wherever. And I got to know, I was working with them. And what I found is that a lot of them who were successfully accepted into the astronaut program also had issues, with medical issues. Maybe not the eyesight, but other things. And that I wasn't alone in is just another obstacle.
Then he applied again. He got rejected, but this time he had astronauts recommend him to NASA, like, oh, check it. And so NASA basically said, look, if you could just improve your eyesight, you're in.
The way to do it was near impossible. I had to train my eyes to see better naturally, without having any procedure, which was not easy to do.
He actually then found somebody, and I think somebody, one of these astronauts recommended somebody who can do specific exercises, which he did for a whole year, every single day, to improve your eyesight to 20/20 for just a small period of time.
And it worked. I was able to get a better acuity reading on the eye chart.
So he did that, and then right when he was taking the test, he made sure he had 20/20 for that small period of time, and he got into NASA and he was an astronaut. You're the average of the 5 people you spend time with. So he got his PhD in robotics, everyone in the class went into outer space. Then he moved to the town or the neighborhood where the 5 people around him were astronauts. This helped him get the knowledge, the experience, the relationships, all that allowed him to eventually become an astronaut. And then he became, of course, a very successful astronaut. And now he's a professor at Columbia, but he became very successful. He fixed the Hubble Space Telescope, which is why we now see all these magnificent images of outer space, simply because he was the average of the 5 people he spent his time with. By the way, I didn't mention money once in that story. So that's an example.
All right, so let's go meet Jay Shetty. Hey.
How's it going?
Jay, good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming.
This is Robin.
Just been collecting. I've still got to finish it off. I've got some gaps. I've got some frames back there that still need to go up. But I really felt that being a monk would allow me access to accelerate my growth to the virtues, values, and characteristics that I thought were so important. So when I would hear about humility, or I would hear about integrity, or I would hear about detachment, I was fascinated by these qualities as a 18-year-old, and I just thought, okay, it's going to give me time to purify myself and become self-aware that I can try at least to develop some of this. And the second one was, it's going to give me time to study.
Every skill that you're passionate about ever in your entire life, they will work together to make you uniquely the person you are and build the unique value that you bring to others, whether it's through business, through art, through creativity, through health, through connections, through networking. I promise you, all the dots will connect on all the skills you learn.
It's going to give me time to study, realize, and live the knowledge so that one day I can share it, so that one day I can pass it on.
With every podcast, I try to find at least one takeaway that's going to improve my life, and where I'm going to immediately apply it and start doing it and at least experiment to see if it changes my life. So it's as if the guest on the podcast is my plus. So now he's giving me the one. Now I talk about it with my equals, I do research, I see if this is a real thing that can help my life. And then if it does, if the experiment's working, then I write about it. So the minus is I then talk to everybody I can about it. Like, I'm so excited, look at this new thing I'm doing. I share. Not only just podcasts, but just everything I do. Books I read, people I meet. I try to find one takeaway.
Well, the subway thing I've done, which is that I wanted to get better at like really tight one-liner humor. And so I instead of going to a comedy club, I went on a subway and I started doing stand-up, and that was...
Plus minus equals doesn't just work if you're learning how to be great at poker. It works if you're learning how to be an astronaut, a tennis player, a poker player, a better salesman, a better artist, a better writer, a better negotiator. These are fundamental aspects of meta learning where you can learn anything that you're passionate about. You need some passion to go out there and impress the pluses, to go out there and convince the equals to be in the trenches and to convince musicians to collaborate with you, you have to be good, you have to be passionate enough and they see it. To have the passion to teach the minuses, you have to have a passion for what you're doing. But still, plus minus equals applies to every single industry.